I am going to share with you today how you can replace imposter syndrome with confidence. And my name is Jamie Lee. I'm a certified coach. I started out helping women negotiate their salaries. And now I help women become better leaders as well as improve their income. And what I have noticed in the years of coaching and training women all around the world, Black, Indigenous, people of color, but also women in Africa, women in Canada, women in Japan. What I have noticed is that when women feel they are underappreciated, undervalued, underpaid, that is a symptom of the problem, symptom of often feeling like an imposter in their careers. And because they feel like an imposter, they second guess themselves. And when they second guess themselves, they don't speak up. When they don't speak up, they don't negotiate. When they don't negotiate, they don't get paid better, right? And I realized we gotta address not just the symptom, we gotta address the root cause. And over the years of helping women become bolder, braver, and better paid, I have learned that imposter syndrome is really as simple as math. Yes, you heard me right. It is as simple as math. There is a simple formula that anyone can learn. And when you understand the formula, you can dissolve, you can undo the negative impacts of imposter syndrome. And just like math, there is a very simple formula for building confidence. And when you understand this confidence formula, you can solve for it. You can build self-confidence and become so confident in your value that speaking up, advocating for yourself, advocating for people around you, advocating for your team, advocating for diversity and inclusion becomes just second nature. It's not like, it's not as difficult. It doesn't feel alien and so hard as we think it has to be. So that is what I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to share with you the formula for imposter syndrome. I'm going to share with you the formula for confidence. And my intention for you is that you leave this webinar with an action plan, a custom action plan. You know exactly what to do to replace imposter syndrome with confidence. And I know that several of you are joining this webinar from some Facebook groups. You're new to me, and I want to let you know, if you're new to my newsletter list, you will be receiving my ebook, How to Ask for a Big Pay Raise, in case increasing your income as well as increasing your confidence is something that you want to do for 2021. I want to set you up for success. So just want to let you know that if you haven't gotten, you will be getting my ebook in your inbox later this week. If you're already on my email list, but you want me to resend it to you or whatever, feel free to reach out. Just email me and I will happily resend it to you as a refresher so you can review it and start 2021 with your best foot forward. Okay, so let's get started. Who's ready? Who's excited for this? All right, this is for you, especially if you have, can you see that? There you go. This is for you. If you have a track record of achievements. Now, I know some of us are experiencing imposter syndrome, and when we are in the middle of imposter syndrome, we tend to discount, we tend to overlook or neglect our achievements. So you don't need to overthink this. If you are here on this webinar today, or if you're watching the replay, that is evidence enough to show that you are accomplished, that you do have achievements. Jack Canfield is a success coach, and he says that, hey, if you completed the 3rd grade, you're more accomplished than most people, okay? So if you're here, you're watching this, don't sweat it. You already got this, okay? And also, especially if you are a woman, if you are a minority, if you identify yourself as belonging to one of the marginalized communities, Black, Indigenous, people of color, or immigrant, like myself, if you notice that you are a double minority in the workplace. You know, I work with a lot of women who work in male-dominated industries like science, technology, engineering, math, pharmaceutical, and you notice that you're often the only one or one of few in a room full of white guys. I got you. Yeah, we're going to talk about that, okay? And at the same time, you know that you don't want to make your minority or double minority status, you don't want to make that a problem. You don't want to make that the reason why you don't become bolder, braver, and better paid in your career. Right? Because you know deep inside, yes, this world is unfair. Yes, sexism, racism, bias, it's all real. But you do know deep inside, no matter what is happening out there in this world, no matter how unsafe it is possible for you to create confidence from inside of you. You know that confidence is up to you. You know that you can. You have the capacity to do it. You want to know how, right? That's why you're here. Awesome. I got you. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Jamie Lee. I'm a certified coach. I specialize in negotiation, leadership skills for women who hate office politics, and I help them get promoted and better paid without throwing anyone under the bus. And I really feel like if I can replace imposter syndrome with confidence, so can you. I know you might be looking at me, you're like, oh yeah, but you're able-bodied and you probably come from privilege, but here's the thing. Yes, to all of that, but also I have experienced imposter syndrome, feeling like I don't belong, feeling like maybe I'm not good enough. And, part of it is that I am an immigrant. I was not born here in the United States. I was born in Seoul, South Korea. I moved here with my family 31 years ago when I was 7 years old. So you did the math. And I I was an ESL student. I was an ESL student, English as a second language student for the first 2 years of my education here in America, my second and third grade. I think part of fourth grade too. And all throughout my childhood, I felt like I didn't belong. I did get bullied. I did get told by the neighborhood boys to go back to China, which is not where I'm from. And I got picked on, and I'm going to tell you a story. Yes, I did experience imposter syndrome, but I sort of also did know that confidence was an inside game from a very young age. When I was in the fourth grade, these boys were bullying me and telling me to go back to China, right? And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm gonna fight you. I challenged these boys to a duel. I said, come fight me on the school backyard. I'm gonna fight you a Saturday morning at 11 a.m. And I'm like, I know Taekwondo. I was yellow belt. I know Taekwondo. I'm gonna fight these boys. I'm like, they can't talk to me like that, right? And I showed up to the fight, the school backyard on Saturday at 11 a.m. and they didn't show. So I won the fight by forfeit. So even though I had that experience of knowing that I can show up for myself, even though I had that experience of knowing like I can be my own best ally, I can be my own advocate, even if people around me don't believe in me, I got educated and I went into the working world, and I still experience imposter syndrome. Especially because I joined a hedge fund. I had no finance background. I studied Japanese at Smith, and I became the only girl on the trading desk. And one day I found out that I was making 50% of the going market range as an analyst. And I realized, oh my God, I did something wrong, or I didn't do something. I missed an important step and I didn't know what it was. Now I know that it was negotiating for myself, advocating for the value, right? And asking for more in a strategic way. I didn't know how to do that. But back then, because I was experiencing imposter syndrome, I made that salary information mean that, like, again, I really didn't belong. You know what I mean? I made that to mean like I really didn't belong. I really don't know what I'm doing. And so it really hurt. It really ate into my self-confidence. And I ended up leaving the fund, never actually negotiating my salary, but I pivoted my career to working with tech startups here in New York City. And again, I experienced imposter syndrome with joining joining the tech startup, and I became promoted. I became operations director. And again, it was all white dudes at the management meeting, and I was the only woman. I was the only minority, and I was like, oh, maybe I don't belong. Maybe these guys don't want me. And I kept feeding my imposter syndrome because I didn't know the formula that I'm going to teach you today, because I didn't know the tools that I learned as a negotiation coach, as a leadership coach, helping other women become bolder, braver, and better paid. So, you know, as painful as that experience was, I'm actually kind of grateful that that had happened to me, that I found out that I was not making the going market range in the finance job I had, and being the only minority, only woman at the tech startup, because it has enriched my understanding of what it is like for women, what it is like for Black, Indigenous, people of color, in their careers, who are ambitious, who want to become bolder, braver, and better paid, and encounter imposter syndrome. I know it really deeply. I understand it. But I have, since learning the tools, since learning the formula, I have become a professional speaker. From not knowing much more than the ABCs, when I first came to America, I became a paid speaker. I traveled all around the world teaching women how to negotiate and advocate for themselves. And now I do it on one-on-one basis as a certified coach for smart women. And so here's the thing that I want to share with you about imposter syndrome. Yes, I experienced it. I still sometimes do. It's totally normal, because imposter syndrome is experienced by the best and the brightest among us, experienced by these amazing women of color who have all on record have said that they too experience imposter syndrome. Maya Angelou, when I think about Maya Angelou, I think about how she mentored Oprah. Like, she is Oprah's mentor. And she herself have said that, yeah, I experience imposter syndrome with my writing. Gloria Estefan, every time she puts out a record, she's like, can I do it again? Michelle Obama, Viola Davis, award-winning actor, AOC. I mean, these amazing women. Like, I was sharing this with my client yesterday, and she's like, what? That can't be true. These women, I feel like they all have their stuff together. How can it be true that they experience imposter syndrome? Here's why. Because it's a human experience. It's normal at every level to experience imposter syndrome at every level of your career journey. It's normal for people of all color, of all experiences, of all backgrounds to second guess themselves, to wonder if they belong, wonder if they're doing it right. It's only normal. And so the answer, the insight that we gain from this is not that there's something wrong with these people, right? The insight that we gain is that, oh, when we understand it as a human experience and we really understand what it really is, then we can have the authority and the power to replace it, the authority and the power to shift out of it, the authority and power to change how we think, how we feel, how we do, and how we generate concrete results in our careers. All right, so what is imposter syndrome? What is the formula? Here it is. You're gonna love this. This is so simple. If you can decipher my art skills, okay? So imposter syndrome equals unfair comparison plus feeding your doubt. Imposter syndrome equals unfair comparison plus feeding your doubt. And this, as you can see, it's a face. And this face is wearing compare and despair goggles. And compare and despair goggles distort. Look at that. There's like smudged. It's smudged. You're not seeing things clearly. You don't see things clearly when you're wearing the compare and despair goggles. You're seeing a distorted perception of you. You're seeing a distorted perception of your value. You're seeing a distorted perception of your situation. You're seeing a distorted perception of your potential. And so when you see that distorted perception, it goes to your mind, where when you feed your doubt, this mind storm, this like chaotic storm, right, is fed with rumination and beating yourself up. So that is what imposter syndrome is. So let me explain unfair comparison a little bit deeper. Okay. This is what happens when you do unfair comparison. You're wearing your compare and despair goggles, right? And so your mind is seeing that distorted perception of you, your situation, your value, your potential. And you're feeling shabby on the inside, you're feeling insecure, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling doubtful, you're feeling dread, right? And then you compare that to other people's highlight reels that have been photoshopped, that have been edited, that have been curated, yeah? And so you're not seeing their insides, you're seeing their highlight reels. And so when you compare your shabby insides to other people's shiny outsides, of course you're going to feel terrible. It's unfair to you. And here's something else that happens. Sometimes we compare where we are in our careers. Maybe you're in chapter 4, maybe you're in chapter 3. Your journey has just begun, and then you compare yourself to other people's end credits. I was just coaching another amazing woman of color client of mine who started her job at her dream job. She's been coaching with me for the past 2 months. She learned to self-advocate, and then she took that self-advocacy skill to negotiate a salary increase, a $50,000 salary increase at her dream job. And so she started her dream job this week, and now she's there, and she's experiencing imposter syndrome. Remember, it's normal at every level, right? And so I'm like, okay, so tell me what's going on in your mind. And in her mind, she's thinking, oh, I'm working with these amazing people. They're so intimidating. They're such experts. They know so much more than I do, right? So then she's feeling like overwhelm and doubt, but she's not being fair to herself, because she doesn't realize when she's in this unfair comparison that she's comparing her like maybe it's like chapter 1 of her journey in this company to other people's like chapter 28, other people's chapter 25 near their end credits, right? Her day 3 to other people's day 3,333. Yeah, so it's not fair to you when you do that. But what happens when you feed the doubt that is generated when you unfairly compare yourself to other people, to impossible standards like being perfect, right? I coached another client, again, another ambitious, really smart, really driven woman who's so accomplished in her career, and she's going to be promoted to director at her company, but like things slow down, and then she's like, oh my God, what if I'm not doing it right? What if I need to be busy all the time? What if me not being busy is a sign that I'm not valuable, right? Again, unfair comparison. Why do we think that we need to be busy all the time? Maybe because we're thinking about the perfection of constant work, constantly busy. Yeah, but that's not fair to you. You're not a robot, okay? And so when you compare yourself unfairly like this, of course you feel doubt. And then what do you do with that doubt? Okay, where am I going with this? I am going to the next page. You can do two things. You can allow the doubt, or you can feed the doubt, right? Feeding your doubt is ruminating, beating yourself up. And when you feed your doubt, you have these the mind spin, the storm, the chaotic storm of thoughts like, oh, I need to be like so and so. I need to be somebody else. I used to think this when I worked at the hedge fund, when I worked at this tech startup, and everyone else were white guys, and I'm like, oh, maybe I need to be like that guy who plays rugby and it's like 6 feet tall and it's totally not who I am, or I need to prove myself. Right? This thought feels like so logical, like we should be thinking it, but does it really help us? Let's investigate that. Or so and so said these things about me. Maybe they're absolutely right. When I worked at the tech startup, the CTO told me that I belong in a nonprofit. and at that time, because I was unconsciously thinking that I don't belong, when he said that, it touched on this limiting belief that I already had. And so I latched onto it and I fed my doubt by latching onto this comment. And ultimately thinking, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I don't belong here, right? So these thoughts happen. We all have thoughts. Thoughts are just like sentences in our minds, right? These are just sentences. But what do we do with the thought? How do we engage with the thought? How do we react to the thought is how we create our result. So usually what happens, the thought creates an emotion, and that emotion drives our behavior. And so when we feed the doubt that is generated by these thoughts, right, and we give into the doubt, we may pretend, like fake confidence, fake it till you make it, while feeling really shabby, feeling really inauthentic inside. Right? Or we may hustle for other people's approval. We may overwork, overcommit, just say yes to whatever. And some of my really brilliant clients, they start out working like over the weekend, on nights, right? They're hustling for approval. They think, oh, the more approval I have, the more work I get done, then these thoughts will go away. But then they find out it's not true. They keep have to hustle even more. Right? And or you hide, or you don't advocate, you stay small, and you don't have your own back, and you don't celebrate your own wins, your own strengths, because remember, you're seeing yourself with these compare and despair goggles, right? And so what happens is that you feel even less motivated, you feel even less engaged, you feel more exhausted, you feel you don't feel great, even when you do the work, even when you are getting the approval, like you discount it because you're still thinking these thoughts, right? Even when you get promoted, you have your pay is increasing, your title is increasing, but when you're in this feeding the doubt mode, it feels unsustainable. You're like, I can't go on. Maybe I need to quit. Maybe I need to change my job, right? And it feels kind of hopeless. And of course, for women of color, this gets exacerbated when we're doing the unfair comparison to people who don't look like us. So then we have an even growing sense of alienation from ourselves, from our careers, from our colleagues, from our career dreams. Okay, so the question becomes, why? Why are we doing this? Why do so many people, bright, the best of us, the most accomplished of us, why do we fall into this? The answer is really surprising and simple. Our brains. I know this is a terrible drawing, but this is the primitive brain. This is my rendering of a primitive brain. I know it looks kind of like a rotting walnut or something really weird, but this is the primitive brain, okay? And we all have primitive brains as part of our nervous system. And our primitive brains love to seek pleasure, loves to do the easy thing. Netflix, overeating, right? Sleeping in. That would be the brain's default. And because it likes to seek pleasure, it likes to take shortcuts. It doesn't want to think hard. It doesn't want to create new thinking, new patterns of thinking. It's more effort, it's more energy. It feels really hard. And so it just likes to repeat past patterns. And the past patterns that we have been exposed to from a very young age is to think about things in winner versus loser, black and white, all or nothing, this sort of like student mindset, right? It's like we need to compete for that A. And if you don't get the A, or if you don't get the teacher's attention, that means like you're not good enough. Like it's very winner or loser, black or all or nothing, right? And also the past pattern is that we've been exposed to this sort of thinking, this imposter syndrome inducing thoughts by a lot of people around us, like maybe your parents, maybe your teachers, maybe your friends, maybe the people that you have worked with. You've been exposed to everyone else doing it. Oh, so and so is so pretty, and then I don't have her nose, so I must not be pretty enough. I mean, that's something that a lot of us women have been, that sort of thinking, right? Comparing ourselves to this impossible standard of models um, who don't really look like real average people, but we unconsciously compare ourselves to that impossible standard, and then we feel shabby inside, right? That's something that we do habitually just because it's a past pattern that we have been exposed to. But here's the biggest lie that our brain loves to tell us. Our brain loves to rationalize our imposter syndrome. It likes to rationalize our unfair comparisons because it says, well, you'll be more motivated if you think this way. If you keep, comparing yourself to the impossible standard, if you keep comparing yourself to the people who are very successful and far ahead of you, you'll be more motivated. But it's a lie, right? We already uncovered that when we feed the doubt, when we pretend, when we hustle, when we hide, when we don't have our own backs, this actually kills our motivation because we don't feel authentic in our own skin, because we don't feel fulfilled in a way that supports us, in a way that feels good from the inside out, right? So it is a lie that you will be more motivated by thinking imposter syndrome thoughts. Okay, so then what is the solution? How do we get out of this thinking and behaving pattern that does not generate the results we want in our career? What is the solution? The solution is very simple. And these solutions are what I help my one-on-one clients do on a weekly basis. These steps are what I help my clients do, and I help them hold themselves accountable to do it. Okay? Unwind default thinking and behavior patterns. Unwind the urge and the temptation from the primitive brain to just be like comparing and despairing, because when you do that, you don't get to take risks, you don't get to speak up, you don't get to advocate, you don't get to put yourself on the line to take calculated risk to gain growth, to gain confidence, right? And so we have to unwind the default thinking and behavior patterns, not from shaming and judging yourself, not from like, oh, you're doing it wrong, but from understanding, from compassion, from understanding this is normal, this is human, there's nothing wrong, but we can do better because we can access our more evolved thinking brain. And when we do that, we're able to put down the compare and despair goggles. We're able to clean it up and put on neutrality glasses. Neutrality glasses are being able to see yourself, your value, your potential, your situation objectively, not just like, oh my God, I feel terrible, I must be doing it wrong. No, let's be neutral, let's be objective, let's calm down, let's be grounded, and let's see what is actually here, what is really happening. Right? So my clients, when they learn the skill, they're able to regain power over their emotion. So what happens is they're able to stop feeding the doubt, stop ruminating, stop beating themselves up unnecessarily, and start feeling the doubt. I'm going to tell you more in a bit exactly what that is like, but feeling your doubt as opposed to feeding it is being able to allow any emotion, including doubt, including dread, including anxiety, including feeling insecure, right? Accepting your humanness, being vulnerable with yourself, right? I mean, think about it. The reason why so many of us minority women, women of color feel unsafe in these male-dominated workplaces is because we have not been taught the skill of creating safety for ourselves from the inside out. And this is something that you can do. Anyone can do. All it takes is we unwind default thinking. We put down the compare and despair glasses. We put on neutrality glasses. We stop feeding the doubt. We stop making ourselves wrong for feeling doubt. We start allowing it. We start processing it. We start allowing the emotion to just pass through, not making it wrong, accepting our humanness, and that gives us the power, that gives us the authority to generate self-confidence from the inside out. Okay, self-confidence comes from yourself, right? It doesn't come from external validation. It doesn't come from hustling. It comes from yourself. It comes from your future focus. And I'm going to explain what that means in a little bit. But basically, when you're able to do that, you're able to access your own internal wisdom. You're able to access your own higher thinking brain so that you can create strategic solutions for whatever situation you find yourself in. Office politics, salary negotiation, performance reviews, delegation, managing up, advocating for your ideas at work, speaking up, taking credit, and sharing credit, right? And showing other women in your team, other women and minorities in your team, what is possible when somebody chooses to believe in themselves, right? That really is self-confidence. And so then when you do that, you're able to come up with solutions. You're able to implement them. And in my coaching practice, I help my clients brainstorm for solutions, implement them. I help them hold themselves accountable to do that. And then they come back and then we evaluate the solutions. What went well? What didn't go so well? What can we do differently next time so that this becomes a process of continual growth? Right? You're not just like, oh, once I'm done. No, we keep working on this over and over and over again because it takes practice. I mean, it took decades of years of programming for the default thinking and behavior patterns to have been established in your career. And so then it takes commitment, it takes committed focus, discipline, and practice to undo it and to build your future focus so that you have strategic solutions, you implement it, you evaluate it, you grow from it. And as a result, you become your own best ally. Even if you are the only woman, even if you are the only minority or double minority, right? You're able to best advocate for yourself. And when you're able to best advocate for yourself, you show your team, you show other people, you show other minorities how they can do it too. And so you inspire greatness, not just within yourself, but in others who may or may not look like you. Okay, so these are the solutions. And the reason why this works is because confidence is a result of taking self-confident actions, right? So here's the thing that a lot of my clients say in the beginning of our coaching relationship. They say, oh, I want to feel confident. I want to feel comfortable, speaking up and taking the lead, delegating. But, it's like the chicken and the egg problem. Confidence is a result of taking action. So you can't expect to have confidence before you take actions. And when you take self-confident actions, it's not comfortable. You're going for your growth. With growth comes discomfort, right? And that is why imposter syndrome happens at every level. That is why even the best and the brightest of us experience self-doubt, because we are continuously pushing ourselves to that next level of growth. And with growth comes discomfort, and sometimes doubt happens. And doesn't mean you're wrong to feel it, doesn't mean something has gone wrong. Sometimes like doubt really serves us. Doubt serves us and like lets us know, oh, we gotta be on alert, right? Or if you are like brand new in your position, like my client, it lets us know, okay, you know, these are the things that I need to learn. These are the things that I need to do. And sometimes anxiety does serve us. And so the point that I want to make is it's okay. It's 100% okay if you do not feel confident right now. If it's 100% okay if thinking about negotiating, advocating, and taking the lead in your career doesn't feel confident or comfortable. It shouldn't, right? You want to generate courage to take self-confident actions. Okay, so then the question becomes, where does self-confidence come from? How does that happen? I gave you some hints already, but here is the self-confidence formula. Again, dead simple. Self-confidence comes from having a future focus and the willingness to feel doubt. Or, you know, you could put in like any other emotion here, doubt or fear or insecurities or like anxiety, your willingness to feel it all. Okay, so notice these are neutrality glasses, right? The smear is gone. It's clear. You can see through them. You can see clearly who you are. You can see clearly what your value is. You can see clearly you do have potential. And with this clear, neutral perspective, you point it, you direct your focus to where you're going, where you are headed, where you want to go. Okay, so that is what future focus is. And when you have future focus and combine it with your willingness to feel anything, you become unstoppable. And so let me explain this. It might look a little funky, but it is a stick figure. It's a person. And notice there's nothing going on in the mind. The mind is clear. The mind is not cluttered with the spin of rumination and beating yourself up. Rather, the stick figure person is in her body, in her stick body. And I drew these lines, these squiggly lines, to note that emotion is really a vibration, a sensation in the body. Like when I experience doubt or inadequacy, right, which is an emotion that often comes up for me when I encounter these imposter thoughts, I feel like the sinking feeling in my chest. It is a feeling. It's a real sensation. Like think about that. Like you feel hot. You can feel it on your skin. You feel cold. You want to, you feel the shivers in your body, right? And just like that, you can experience emotion in your body. And you can let them pass through you. Notice these arrows, you're letting the emotions pass through you. Like, it does get generated by the thoughts, but it gets passed through in the body, and it can go out if you just allow it, if you accept your humanness. And humans experience 50-50 emotions, right? Some good, some bad. If you can just allow it and let it pass through you, let it come out through your toes. Right? It's not a problem. And I want you to think about, like, when was the last time I felt doubt? When was the last time I felt kind of bad? When was the last time I felt scared? but I did it anyways. I took action anyways, right? You're able to feel it and take action anyways. And that is the definition of self-confident action, because you have future focus. So let me give you some examples of future focus. Again, future focus is when you are seeing yourself, your situation, your value, your potential with neutrality glasses, and you're directing your perspective to who you want to be and where you want to go. And future focus works really great when it is fueled by a compelling why. It is now December 2020. It may be sometime in the future if you're watching the replay, but with my current one-on-one clients, we are taking December to direct our future focus to 2021. Who do we want to be? Where do we want to go? What inspires me about 2021? Right? About what I want to achieve. And so my clients, they want to become confident and competent leaders. They want to increase their effective self-advocacy skills. They want to become less anxious, more grounded. They want to stop overworking. They want to stop working on the weekends, at nights, right? They want to grow their team leadership. They want to improve their delegation. They want to get promoted and better paid, and they want to be an example of what is possible for other women and other women of color. So, and when you direct your future focus this way, and you are willing to experience the emotion that come up and take action anyways, you make these results happen. And that is what my clients are doing this year. In the pandemic, my clients are becoming more confident as leaders. They are becoming promoted. They're getting better paid. Yeah, I have a client right now um, who went from, again, overworking, really fueled by imposter syndrome, and because she unwound that default thinking and she stopped feeding the doubt, she was able to start saying no, honor her boundary, right? And have more time to herself. And now that she has more time to herself, she's able to take better care of herself, and she can plan for the family life that she wants to have in the next 2 years. And because she did that, because she replaced imposter syndrome with self-confidence, she became a better leader, a more forthright, more direct, more competent leader. And because she became more competent, more confident, her company decided to award her with the maximum bonus for the year, as well as growth in headcount. So that is possible for women. That is possible for women of color. I have another client who works at a tech startup, and she wants to become an example of what is possible for women of color. She wants to be an example of what is possible when women have more power and more authority. Yeah, and so that is her future focus. I have another client who wants to become a better self-advocator so that she can advocate on behalf of her team, which is made up of diverse underdogs, as it were, people who are minorities, people who don't typically get a chance to work in STEM fields, okay? So this is possible for you too. Just let's do a quick recap. Self-confidence is future focus and your willingness to feel doubt. So when we replace imposter syndrome, we stop compare and despair goggles, we put them down, right? And we stop feeding the doubt with rumination and beating yourself up. That is it. So now, if you enjoy this, if you found this helpful, and if you want a one-on-one coach in your corner to help you replace imposter syndrome with confidence in 2021, I invite you to book a consult with me in December. I have some spots available for 1 hour long complimentary consult, and you go here to book your consult. And what we will do is we will get together and I will listen. I will ask you some questions to really understand the full scope of where you are, the full scope of your career, the full scope of your problems. And then I'm going to give you a custom prescription, if you will. Like the solutions that I talked about, how can we custom tailor it to your situation so that you can become more confident, you can become bolder, braver, and better paid in 2021. And this conversation is, of course, 100% confidential. It's totally safe space between you and me, and it is absolutely risk-free. At the end of the conversation, if you find that working with me would be a slam dunk fit for you, then we talk about, okay, so how will coaching starting January 2021 look like? If not, no problem. So I want to invite you to think about what would it be like? What will it take for me to become more confident, better paid, braver, more willing to feel my doubt instead of feeding it in 2021? And what would the impact of that be on my career trajectory? What would the impact of that be on my home life when I can come home or log off from your work computer and be fully present because you're no longer ruminating, you're no longer, unnecessarily comparing yourself, unfairly comparing yourself and stewing in that mind spin, but you have more groundedness, more peace, not just at work, but in your home life. And what would be the impact of that for the people that interact with you on a day-to-day basis? What would be the impact of your leadership for other women who look or who don't look like you? Yeah. Okay, so I am going to open the floor up for questions. Yes, so Anonymous asks, what if the comparison comes from an outside party and feeds the internal comparison? Excellent question. So notice that the comparison only hurts when you have an internal comparison. So we have to address the problem from the root where it really hurts. Internal comparison. Think about it. Like if other people are comparing you and you don't have that same comparison about yourself, it's not a problem. Take for example, if I mean, as you can see, I have black hair, but if somebody said, Jamie, you have blue hair and it looks terrible. I mean, I don't believe that I have blue hair. I can see that I have black hair, so I don't believe it. So it's not an internal comparison I have about myself. So it's not a problem if somebody's like, oh, you have blue hair. I just feel like, oh, they're just wrong. Right? Yeah. So what we do in coaching is we get to the root of the problem, the internal comparison, the internal thoughts. So we address those thoughts, we unwind them, and then we decide, okay, what is belief? What is the concept that I want to have about myself? And then you work on building belief in that, so that even if other people say things about you, externally, it no longer becomes a problem. Excellent question. Thank you for asking. Anyone else, if you have questions about the consult, if you have any questions about the content. Okay, I see questions coming in. Is motivation only from Future Focus? Are there other sources? That's a really good question. So I want to ask, like, why do you think that you need motivation? Because I'm not sure that motivation is the reason why we create a future focus. The reason why we create a future focus is so that we move forward, right? So sometimes when we create a future focus, we're not necessarily motivated, but we're feeling committed, we're feeling inspired, we're feeling compelled, okay? But at the end, what really matters is that it helps to drive forward action. So MG, let me know if that addressed your question. If not, let me know. Okay, Sylvia asks, how do you not default to overcompensating when it seems obviously you're lacking compared to everyone else? Women who study Japanese, not finance, but works in a hedge fund. Yeah, okay, love it. Exactly, so this is an excellent question. So you have to become aware of what is driving my actions, because you know whether you are overcompensating or just, catching up based on how it feels on the inside, right? Like, I knew that I was overcompensating because, it wasn't feeling genuine. It felt inauthentic inside. Like I was always trying to like make up for what I lacked, but also because I was driven by the thought that I was making up for what I lack, my result was that I always felt like I wasn't catching up, that I still had even more lack, right? Our thinking drives our feeling, our action, and the result. And so you have to ask yourself, okay, I am doing these things, but like, how does it really feel on the inside? And what really is the result that it is creating? Whereas when you create self-confidence, right, with neutrality glasses, you're going to assess the situation objectively. It's not just about like, oh, I'm not good enough, I don't have these skills. It's like, okay, this is what it takes. I need to learn how to do trading. I need to know how to do X, Y, and Z. And you become very objective about the things that you need to work on. And then you work on them, right? And it's not like driven by this feeling like I'm not good enough, and it's not driven by this inadequacy. It's like a commitment. It's just objective, right? And so then you have the result of very specific things crossed off. You have the result of very specific actionable things done, right? So that is how I believe whether you are overcompensating or just doing the thing to move forward. Okay. I need that feeding the doubt list on my desk, okay? Do you do consultations for people who want to explore career pathways? Yes, I do consultations for people who want to explore career pathways other than the one they're on, absolutely. Because again, when you are exploring other career pathways, imposter syndrome, of course it's gonna come up, only because you haven't done it. Right? And so then we have to, again, assess the situation neutrally with neutrality glasses and get really strategic about, okay, what actually helps me get to point B from point A, not instead of comparing and despairing. Yeah. How long did it take you to be comfortable to speak in front of 15 people? That's an excellent question. In the very beginning of my career as a negotiation coach, I didn't feel comfortable at all. I had imposter syndrome. And because I was feeding my doubt, I had, compare and despair classes. I was feeding my doubt. I was ruminating and beating myself up. I wasn't like really showing up authentically. I wasn't like really telling my stories in a natural way. And so I didn't feel all that comfortable, and people can tell that. People can tell when you're not comfortable. People can tell when you're not authentic. And I got feedback from one of the very early workshops that I did with about 15 people, and they're like, you know, we wish we heard more about you. We wish we heard more of your stories. And that gave me the clue, oh, this is something that I can work on. And so what I did was I joined Toastmasters. I think this is a great way to address the earlier question, how do you know whether you're defaulting to overcompensating or not? It's like you find solutions and then you implement them without beating yourself up, right? And so that's what I did. I found solution. I said, oh, I can join Toastmasters. So I joined Toastmasters. I was in it for 3 years, changed my life. And this is what I learned. This is, you know, this is the skill that I had to practice as a public speaker. So, okay. Joanna says, I think I have the reverse problem. I think I'm worth $1 million, but can't find the job that will pay me a decent wage. Here's the caveat. I live in France and the salary scale is way lower. Okay, Johanna, if you want to take this further, I think it would be best for us to have a conversation about it. I invite you to book a consult because you know I want to better understand the situation so that we can really talk about it and give you a tailored solution. Maybe it is not an imposter syndrome problem. Maybe it isn't. So yeah, I invite you to book a consult. Yes, you will be getting a recording of this presentation. Yes, and my focus is directed from the inside out because that is where we have power. That is where we have power. Women, minority, all people, that is where our true power lives, okay? And I want to just go back and just notice that when you feed your doubt, right, when you're pretending, when you're hustling, when you're hiding, when you don't have your back, this happens when you think that power is outside of you. Like you need other people to give you approval. You need to get another credential. You need to do more. Like it's all these external things that drive your sense of belonging, your drive a sense of good enoughness. But when that happens, like you don't actually feel genuinely confident from the inside out. So that at any time, if somebody gives you a negative feedback, if any time like your work doesn't you know pass muster for whatever reason, or you make a mistake, then your confidence is completely shot. Right? But that's not what we want. We want to build confidence that is sustainable. We want to build confidence that gives you your power back. And that starts with these steps. So again, if you enjoy this, if you found this valuable, if you are curious about engaging a one-on-one expert coach to help you become more confident, more secure in your own skin, if you want to learn the skill of creating safety, power, confidence from the inside out, I am the person for you. I invite you to book a consult today so that we can explore whether you and I are a slam dunk fit. And if it is, we can start 2021 with your best foot forward. Make 2021 the year you replace imposter syndrome with confidence. Make 2021 the year that you become bolder, braver, better paid. Make 2021 the year you get promoted. Make 2021 the year you create better balance in your life, in your career, because you're not hustling, you're not overworking, you're not trying to seek external validation in a way that has you feeling even shabbier inside. Okay. Any other questions? And again, I want to remind you that if you signed up to this webinar and you haven't been on my newsletter list, I'm going to send you my free ebook, How to Ask for a Big Pay Raise. Okay? I want to set you up for success. All right. Any other questions, comments before we wrap up right on time? You're most welcome, Martine. Thank you. This great presentation. You're most welcome, Teresa. I'm so glad you found it valuable and that you thought it was great. I hope you had fun. Yes, you're most welcome. So my ask is that go implement what you can, right? You know what you can do. And if you want one-on-one support, if you want to hire a coach to do the thing that you've always wanted to get done and you want to make sure you get it done in 2021, book a consult. Let's have a chat. Let's see if this is a good fit. Okay? You're most welcome, Quinn, Trina. You're most welcome. She says, thank you for your time and expertise. Great presentation. Yeah, all right. Well, again, thank you for your attention. And I will talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye.